Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Talking Dental Innovation. My name is Justin Lang. I want to welcome my customers in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So for today's episode, we'll talk about handpiece maintenance and repair. So your handpieces are so important to use them every day inside your dental practice. So you want to make sure we're doing little things every day for those handpieces to work at its best. So we'll talk about 10 to 15 different little tips here that you can apply to your protocols, either in terms of maintenance and servicing, but as well when you're sterilizing your handpieces. So we'll start off with when you are sending off your handpiece for repair. Let's say your turbine is due, or there's another issue with your chuck or other reasons that your handpiece is not working well. You want to make sure that you're adding on or you're replacing those original parts with authentic parts. So there's a lot of mom and pop shops out there that do service handpieces, and most of the time they are using a aftermarket turbine. So basically, you might save a few bucks, but at the end of the day, you're not getting your full performance inside that that high-end handpiece that you're buying. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're buying a Ferrari and it's working well. It needs a new part, and you are getting, let's say, a Kia or a Chevy part. There's nothing wrong with a Kia or a Chevy. It's not going to give you the same performance as what you thought you were going to get from your original purchase. So it's very important that you are getting those parts as well. You are getting a great warranty. Second thing, when you are sterilizing your handpiece, it's important to put individual handpieces in individual bags. I'll tell you why. So when you are placing a handpiece inside, let's say, a bag with other instruments, could be scalers or really much any type of metal instrument inside that same bag. What's going to happen is every instrument that's in there has different density of different metals. So when you're sterilizing, it heats up, and some of that metal, little tiny microscope particles, will detach and might be attracted by other particles. And sadly, some of those other particles or other metals, the heavier metals, will be inside your handpieces. So it will flake off, it will go inside your handpieces, and sometimes that's why your handpieces might feel like it feels gritty or it feels rusty when you're working with it. It might be because you actually have rusted particles from other instruments that went inside your handpieces. So just in a habit, when you're sterilizing your handpieces, place them in an individual bag, and this way you'll make sure that no other instruments can affect the performance of your handpiece. When you're sterilizing as well, make sure that you're doing your full cycle sterilizer. I know sometimes we're in a hurry and we don't want to wait for the full cycle to be over, which is an issue because now you're going to be stuck with a wet bag, which is a no-no. But let's say you're just stuck. You have to have that handpiece, and you don't let that sterilizer cool down the way it's supposed to. So what's going to happen is, first of all, the handpiece is going to be very hot. But second of all, the biggest thing is inside that handpiece, your pieces, everything that makes your handpiece work, they're very, very thin and very, very precise. So imagine that you're baking cookies and you put everything on a metal plate. You take out your cookies, you put that really hot plate inside your sink, and you put cold water on it. Usually that plate is going to buckle. Well, that's exactly what happens inside your handpiece, inside your turbine fins. They're very thin, and if it cools down too quickly, you can actually warp a bit. So that will cut down a lot on the performance on your handpiece. So just make sure to never ever take out the handpiece from that really hot chamber. Make sure that it cools down gradually inside your drying cycle. It's very, very important. When you're washing your handpieces, make sure that they are, before putting under cold water, that they're not hot, okay? And make sure that you don't use any disinfectants on them, any wipes or any sprays. If you have any handpieces that you've seen, there's kind of like this little, yellow shading on it. That's probably why. It's because it's been wiped and then it's been baked right on that handpiece. So just make sure that you just rinse it and brush it with a soft brush, and that should be fine. When you're lubing your handpieces. So when lubrication is so important for your handpieces, it's gonna, it's the same thing as a car. If you don't have oil, it's not gonna work properly, and it's gonna damage drastically your handpieces. So Of course, an automatic luber is 100% the best situation. It is half the battle, for your handpiece maintenance. It's so easy. It saves time. You take your handpiece, you put it in your machine, you press a button, the machine knows exactly how much oil, specifically what to put inside every handpiece, how much time it needs to run. So it's a very, very, very good system, and it's very good for production as well. Well, let's say you don't want to invest in that type of machine. It's okay. There's still great ways to do it yourself, just to make sure that you don't skip on the amount of lube and the amount of time you're running your handpieces. So when you're spraying inside your handpiece, spray for around 3 seconds. And then it's good to let it run on a coupler for around 30 seconds to make sure that all the pieces are being, lubricated as properly. As well, it's not a bad idea to once a week or once a day take your tip nozzle of your can and then just shoot a little bit of oil inside the chuck, which is the working end of your handpiece, just to make sure that is getting fresh oil. Because when you're working from the other end, the oil is coming down. So basically that tip, the working end, is getting like the last of the good oil. So, a little bit of oil on that end is going to be really great for the long term as well. So when you're using your handpieces, it's very important to maybe just let it run, put your working in a 2x2 and a 4x4 and let it run for a few seconds. I always hear stories about, sometimes there's oil shooting out outside the handpiece. Either the handpiece had too much oil or it wasn't purged, it wasn't operated right before a treatment. So it's very important just to make sure that you just let it run just a little bit, just to make sure that you wash out that excess oil inside that handpiece. It's very, very important. So for the hygienists that love using Snap-on Profi cups, this is very important to, when you're lubricating, take off that adapter. So basically that adapter closes the hole. So when you're using your, let's say your machine, the oil comes in, it has nowhere to come out, so it basically shoots back up. So very little is coming out. So it's very, very important to make sure that you detach that Snap-on attachment. If you're using screw type, that's fine. It works properly. There's no issue. It's mostly for the Snap-on. So inside your machine, how do you know? Is the handpiece being lubricated properly? Is there an issue? So there's a few things that you can check. First of all, it's very important to put down, a little, napkin or a nappy below the handpieces. If you have a machine that already has a pad, that's fantastic. So this will tell you right away if there's an issue with your handpieces. So if you see some very dark marks after you bought the machine, there's a lot of dark oil coming off. Well, congratulations, you did the best thing for that handpiece. Everything is coming out. All the oil, the old oil, is being washed out, and you're giving really a good, nice wash inside of those handpieces. If you notice as well that you're using your handpiece, but there's no marks, there's no oil coming out, so basically it should be the size of a quarter, that little stain on that napkin or that paper towel. So just make sure that you watch that system operate properly, and you replace those so you can see the proof when you're oiling. The same thing, if you notice that your chuck is loose, or your handpiece, your burr, that's in your handpiece, is loose, that is a very important indicator that needs to be replaced. So what's going to happen is, so if your chuck is loose, it's going to create vibration, and vibration is going to create discomfort for your patient, and it can also create microfractures inside your preps. So it's very, very important to make sure that working end, that chuck, is super tight and it holds on with no vibration. As well, like I said, it's very important to purge. If you don't purge your handpieces properly, you can actually shoot oil inside the patient's mouth. So first of all, disgusting. Second of all, if you do a prep for for any type of composite restorations or any type of indirect restoration, you're going to lubricate that spot. So even if you do a really good bond job, it doesn't matter. There's oil in there, and it's going to affect your restorations big time. So if you notice, maybe if your restorations have been popping off in the last little while, well, it might not be your cement. It might just be that there's way too much oil inside that handpiece. That's why having that automatic lubricator is a great system to use if you're having issues doing it manually. So that's pretty much it for handpiece maintenance and repairs. Again, it's very important for you to follow every manufacturer guideline. these are very precise tools, and it's 100% worth it to take that extra step to make them work as optimally as possible. As well, I have for you a sheet that is easy to track down all your handpieces, all your repairs. It's a sheet that I got from Caroline, the NSK rep. She's the one that made it for us. It's not mine, but she's nice enough to share with everybody. So it's a very nice, simple chart that you can use to really monitor all your handpieces. And I find this is so important to make sure you're not sending out handpieces too often, right? Maybe one of your handpieces give you an issue, but you've been repairing it over and over, but you thought it was another one. And as well, to make sure that you're sending off your handpieces right before your warranty expires. A lot of the new handpieces now, they're higher end ones. They're working better for you. They offer a bigger warranty as well. So you want to make sure you're taking advantage of all those opportunities to increase the performance of your handpiece long term. So if you have any questions, if you want any other tips, please let me know by comment, or you can call me or email me, and we'll see you in the next video.